Hey, good afternoon and welcome everybody. This is the TFS Mobility Finance breakout session. I wanted to start by thanking all of y'all for the gift of your time. Y'all purposefully and intentfully selected to be in this session. I'm hoping at the end of this session, the takeaway for y'all is how did we use Snowflake and AWS to enable the mobility finance for Toyota. But before we start, wanted to ask a few questions. How many of y'all own a car here? Y'all knew I was going to ask that question, didn't you? How many lease a car? Okay. How many of y'all own a Toyota car or a Mazda car? Okay. Oh, nice. How many of y'all finance from Toyota or Mazda? Oh, good. Thank you for sharing that. All right, quick introduction. My name is Rafi Matthias. I am the Domain Information Officer at Toyota Financial Services. I'm going to complete around 2 years next month. And my responsibility is the enterprise data supply chain for TFS. And what that means is I have 4 or 5 pillars. I'm responsible for the entire data platform. I'm accountable and responsible for the reporting and analytical platforms. I'm responsible for the data science and machine learning platform. And most importantly, the heart of it is the enterprise data model and information exchange. And we're going to talk more about it later on. We're going to deep dive why that is important, how it sits in the Snowflake and AWS ecosystem, and how it has helped us accelerate forward. The goal for me really is to build a industry-leading and world-class data platform that powers the mobility and MFIN cloud. I'm going to talk more about what that MFIN cloud means in the next couple of slides. All right. So we're going to start. The first question, do you all own a Toyota? What I wanted to know, did you all know Toyota Financial Services? I wanted to give you all an introduction on what Toyota Financial Services is. Everybody knows Toyota as a car manufacturer, but I want to give an introduction to Toyota Financial Services. Really want to talk to you all about what an MFIN cloud is. What are the tenants around it? What are the principles beyond it? And what we want to do going forward as a digital company, as a platform, as a service company. Want to talk to you all about the situation at hand, the current scenarios that we had as a company that has been around for 30, 40, 50 plus years. Really today is about enabling Mazda, the new book of business on this MFIN cloud. How did we do it? And we did it in 7 months. We want to talk a little bit more about it. We have an architecture deep dive for y'all. And lastly, we want to leave you all here with looking ahead with Snowflake and AWS. We have a lot of things in plan for the next quarter. We want to share that with you all. All right, so Toyota Financial Service is the largest automotive captive finance company in the US. It's bigger than Ford Motor Credit. As you see, as of 2010, I think we're $125 billion in assets. We have 5 million plus customers that we are serving. I was talking to someone earlier on who's in the insurance business. We do insurance as well. We have a voluntary protection plan. We have 10 million plus voluntary protection plans active in use today. Our credit ratings are really great. If you look at the S&P rating, we are A+, and this gives us a lot of advantage in the marketplace. So not only are we in the US, we are also in 36 other countries and 5 regions. And we are also in Kazakhstan. We're all over the map. And this slide is important. As we are building this MFIN cloud for the largest of the units, the Toyota Finance US, we're going to use those principles and have other SFCs start leveraging the same assets as we start becoming a global reach with the platform as a service company. All right, so Toyota, the TFS is very critical and plays a critical aspect in Toyota Motors, North America, the manufacturing arm, now Mazda, North America, and a dealership. It's a very key balance that we play in satisfying both the components of the ecosystem that services a customer. And with that, with this great banking credits that we have, we're able to finance our customer needs. So a trivia question, what percentage of retail customers do you all think need finances? Is that 98? That's what I heard? 85, 97, 95? Yeah, pretty close. 99. It's 80%, you know? And that's a lot of folks needing money to finance mobility for them. And we are here to give A+ servicing to our customers, where customers and dealers can coexist at the same time. All right, now we're going to go into the MFin Cloud, what it's all about. We're going to start with what the vision is, and then we'll drill down to this Mazda book of business that we enabled in 7 months on AWS and Snowflake. So really, if you think in terms of the mobility finance, what we're trying to be is a multi-brand, multi-tenant mobility company, a platform company for providing financial services for all mobility needs. Not only car, maybe a boat, maybe a bicycle, maybe an airplane. If there's mobility and people are involved, we want to be in the business of providing finance for them. And what that means is we are focusing, and if you look at the 4 pillars on the right, is the art of being simple in the ways we empower experience for our customers. How do we make it easy for our customers in today's digital world to get the finance they need at the pace they need it? And it breaks down into 4 things: very simple and easy, fully automated, less human touch points, and oh, by the way, we are a highly regulated company, so the 4 key pillars for us, you know, security by design, privacy by design, compliance by design. If you're in how many folks are in the finance and banking? Oh, a lot of y'all. So, you know, risk is a moat for us. We're in a very highly regulated environment. Our first job is to be compliant. You know, cannot mess up with the regulations. How do you do that? You know, so it's compliance by design. All right, nothing new here. All of y'all who have been in business for the last 30, even like last 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years have the same problems, right? What are the problems? Legacy on-prem, a huge footprint for us. And our legacy on-prem solutions have done us good. We have 100+ current business that's servicing customers. That's not the problem. It's when we go digital and we want to be multi-brand, multi-tenant, service multiple book of business, how do we do that? On-premise holds us back. Silos holds us back. And if you look at us, we have numerous data silos. We have lots of point-to-point integrations. We have manual processes. And did I mention the highly regulated environment? These are the things that slow us down from becoming digital. So this was the situation in hand when we had the Mazda book of business coming over to us and say, can Toyota finance this in a rapid 7 months? And we'll talk about that a little bit more. All right, so enabling this Mazda book of business from the ground up, what does it mean for us, right? So given the situation, our first opportunity is how do we enable this private label in this rapid 6 months, and how do we do it? And if you look at it, from a captive finance perspective, we have a bunch of captive finance solutions. And I said, you know, it's 10+ finance solutions that we have. It's banking solution, consumer lending, commercial lending, you know, fleet financing, warranty protection plans. Those are whole big solutions. And if you break that down, we have various product offerings. And if you break that product offerings down, we have hundreds of integrations. And if you then break it down, we have multiple models and multiple algorithms. And an example of would be the credit risk algorithm. How does that work, right? Your residual value algorithm, how does that work? And also, you know, by the time we were able to ship this product to market, COVID hit. How do we adjust for price relief? How do you do that? How do you manage for customers calling in for price reliefs? All that happened in the same period, and this partnership with AWS and Snowflake and TFS really helped us accelerate the 7 months and bring value to our customers. All right. So this talks about our approach, and if you look at it, we started with the question, if we had to start a new business today, how would we do it, and what would be the best way to approach the rapid changes in the marketplace, our desire to be a multi-tenant, multi-brand company, how would we do it if we build it from the ground first? And our strategy was to implement this new set of books from the ground up on the cloud. as opposed to migrating. If you had gone to migration, if you had gone to the migration path, it would have been very difficult. So we said if you have to start anew, what are the things we can eliminate? We don't need everything. Some of those manual processes were put in place to compensate for the old way of doing things. And what we did is we have customer first. An integrated data supply chain is becoming very easier to do an integrated data supply chain with Snowflake and AWS component, as opposed to it was very difficult in the past with the separation of compute and storage. And also, our goal was to have everything built on patents and frameworks. And I'll talk about all the patents and frameworks that we use to enable this Mazda setup business into the marketplace. The another thing we talk about is we wanted to be an API first and a model-driven organization. All right. So this is hindsight, and hindsight view of what worked for us was this guiding principles. For our guiding principles, as I mentioned earlier on, is we want to be API enabled. The way we did APIs was by domain-driven design, and we used domain-driven design on top of the data models that we build. The next important thing, oh, by the way, our API is on Spring Boot. It's on Kubernetes as a service. That's how we do it. And then if you take a look at it, the heart of it is the data model and the data organization. We selected Data Vault. We had an option of maybe anchor model. We had an option of focal model. If you're technical folks in here, you have the 3NF, kind of stuff. But we said, hey, it's right time to do the data vault modeling, and we wanted to fully automate it. And we wanted to use Snowflake as well as the AWS component to accelerate this data organization so we can build this integrated data model to eliminate silos and give the single pane for all customers coming in and working with us. Obviously, frameworks and patents were very important. If it is not a patent, we're not going to do it. If it is a patent, it is good for us to use it. And all these patents and frameworks were used building the AWS ecosystem and part of using metadata and publishing it on Snowflake. And lastly, but not the least, all the insights-infused analytics came from a Snowflake backbone with AWS working on top of it. Is how do we infuse this prescriptive way of doing business inside the business processes? So this is a high-level architecture. I'm going to break it down for us, and we'll open it up for Q&A at the very end. So if you look at, let me see if I can do this. So at the center of it, the center portion that you see in here is on Snowflake today, and it is segmented into 3 components. The first component is the operational data hub. For those who know Data Vault, it probably would recollect the raw vault concept. The center one is the business hub. Business hub is the more curated aspect of the data that we are organizing. And the last one is the consumption hub. In the consumption hub, we have 2 parts. We have the analytics payload, and we also have the integration payload. That's how we are using it. The biggest change we did was on the top area. What we said is, because we are consuming a lot of data, the first person's access to this data set is for advanced analytics and data science. Previously, with the old way of doing stuff, there was a lot of lag by the time the data scientist could get a hold of data. And oh, by the way, just for context perspective, in the old way, people used SAS to do most of the data science payload. It was a very slow process. It was a very expensive process. And they used to use a lot of SAS to do a lot of data munging and data sanitization, and it was a slow process for us. And we said, hey, we're going to break that apart. We're going to have full access to data. We're now doing machine learning mostly on Python. We have SageMaker, we have MLflow, and we have Jupyter Notebooks. All those components are in play, but we wanted to expose that one. The other aspect was the model governance. Explainability is a big thing. The rules are already in play in Europe. How do we explain the output that a model is generating? How do we do that? So model governance was a very key, and we want to put the top of this data platform, so if there is a regulatory question, we are able to answer that. The other thing that we did, and we talked about it, everything is API. It's not possible, but wherever we did anything on cloud, the first thing is, say, can you take an API? If you cannot take an API, let's talk about why not, make it an exception, and then it would have been some kind of an SFTP or an S3 drop some kind of that aspect, but knowing that, we're going to pull it out in the later stages. We wanted to make it very successful. And most importantly was data governance. We'll talk about more about data governance later on. How do we govern this? Today, we had a problem. So, for example, loan to value, having an 80-year-old business, there are multiple versions of loan to value, right? Which is the right one, which is right for the fit for purpose? How does the governance aspect work? So we wanted to put governance at the heart of what we are doing. So when we build this multi-brand, it is repeatable for all and for everyone, for us to accelerate for all brands that we're bringing on our platform as a service. On the left-hand side, there's nothing new. We have a bunch of producers. So we have, obviously, if you're into finance, you're going to originate a loan. So origination will become a producer for me, and then we have to service a loan. So servicing would be a consumer for me. We might have master data. So master data is a producer for me. So we have the producers and consumer concept, and they loop around as we build this architecture. So this is a breakdown of what happens. So if you think all producers that come in, we are consuming it in two ways, either as a stream or as a S3 drop. And as a stream, today we are doing Kinesis and Kafka. S3 is if it drops on an S3 bucket, it is dropping on an S3 bucket because it's coming from an SFTP side to accommodate old ways of doing business. And then once it comes in, then we're saying, how do we decompose it? Our main component was to build this operational hub, fully automated, using Data Vault. That's what we did. That's the top line is that track. And that builds around a proper ontology and taxonomy. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on. We're organizing the data in the consumer finance domain, in the commercial finance domain, in the banking domain, in the risk domain, so that people can have easy access to it. As it goes right, if you look at the integrated business hub, that integrated business hub is the rationalization of all the data set comes in. So if you look at master data needs to move forward first, and then the source data that can move, that folks can use it as need be, because we all have to use master data, master customer, master dealer, master vehicle, stuff like that. And then if you look at on the right-hand side, there are two buckets to it. You have the normal star schema, the business purpose-driven analytical maths that goes for analytical purposes. And then at the bottom, we have an integrated pipeline to service operational needs of the system. The biggest change we did as we moved forward was to break down machine learning and data science. There was no concept of a feature store. I mean, there was one, but this feature store was baked inside the code. So what that means is if there is a variance in there we did not know, we could not share. So the biggest thing we did is as becoming a multi-brand company, we said we want that feature store inside Snowflake itself. So benefits for us is if it's inside the Snowflake as a feature store, we can do, if there is a feature drift, we know what a feature drift is. If there's a model drift, we can accommodate for that, and we can put some governance around it, and it can be shareable for all, shareable for multiple people. And what that meant was, if you look at down below, we changed the way we did ML ops. We wanted to go towards that direction. So all of your feature store data is within the Snowflake environment, or that's where we are marching towards more and more, even with the old business. And that feature store data is then used for doing your model development, putting your models into production, and doing continuous integration and continuous training. The continuous training part of it is if we score something and say, hey, I'm going to give credit for Rafi, right? That decision has been made based on some rules. We want to feed it back to our model so they can continuously train out of it if there is a variance out of it. And then above, the data quality and governance is the biggest aspects for us to make this new platform work for us well in an MFIN cloud environment. So a little bit on glossary and provenance. How many people struggle with data governance here? Does it work? Most of the time, it's a complicated way of doing stuff. So at the heart of it for us was we want to become a model-driven organization. And from an ontology perspective, ontology means is the semantic meanings of things. And the semantic meanings of things is for something that we model. So if you look at it, the semantic mapping is on the models that we are building. Our model right now is in the Data Vault fashion, But on top of that, we are organizing such a way that everyone has the same meaning of what they are looking for. It makes governance really easier. Governance is a tough business. It's a people thing, it's a process thing. How do you get people to agree upon it? The biggest thing we wanted to do is we wanted to make our pipeline completely open. So if you look at it as the enterprise data pipeline over here, everything inside the enterprise data pipeline, we wanted to ensure that all of the lineage is available at any point in time, and we can do impact analysis, not only for analytics, but also for any operational systems. So here's the business conceptual model. So what we did is we went on to use the industry standard FIBO, and around which we started doing the organization of things. It's little details, but it says, hey, you have the originations, you have servicing, you have risk, you have collections. How do you organize that process, and how do you fit it inside a model that is governed by Data Vault? Finally, if you take a look at it, how did we do Data Vault? We have segmented our Snowflake environment within the AWS ecosystem into a bunch of areas. We talked about the operational hub. This operational hub is fully populated with metadata. All sources come in. Doesn't matter if the origination happened in origination system A versus origination system B versus origination system C, doesn't matter. It got fully arranged inside this operational hub. The neat thing is now it's available. So if Rafi has a car, maybe I have a Lexus in original system A. I have also, my family member also has a Mazda, sorry, cannot use Mazda, maybe a Toyota on origination systems B, and also has a 4Runner on origination system C. So as you come in and make a phone call, the service agent or the systems needs to know from a channel's perspective, which are the sources it came in, what are the rules, how do we do that? All that happens inside the operational hub for us. And then as we rationalize it, we put it into the business hub. It's a standard way of doing it. And then the consumption hub is broken down into two parts. This is also for audit and risk purposes. One goes towards the integration aspect of it. The another breaks down into data models for data scientists, and also your star schema or your dimensional model for analytics. In our ecosystem, we have a lot of reporting tools. You name it, we have it. They're on top of it. We have Tableau, we have Looker, we have OBIE. It's an old one that's going away. But all of them are connecting to Snowflake and within the AWS ecosystem itself. And finally, what does that really mean? This is the data supply chain that we have used to enable the Mazda set of books. At the core of it, we have the information exchange and the enterprise data models. And what we have done is, from that perspective, we have 4 offerings that we do. We have the operational pipelines. The purpose of the operational pipelines is to fulfill all data acquisition and data publishing contracts. We have the analytical pipeline. The purpose of the analytical pipeline is to populate this operational hub for analytics. We have the machine learning pipelines that accelerate all of the machine learning algorithms. And then we have the visualization pipeline. We're making visualization also as a commodity. So anybody wants to do good visualization, here's the library, here's the data, go ahead and do it. We take the barrier around it. The real big difference that we're doing is we are adding observability to it. What it means is, if you're going to add any data events, I need to know how it is happening or how it is moving around so that we can make good business decisions. The business event comes in, I need to know what the business event came in and how is it behaving with all the system changes that are happening around it. And for that, if you look at the frameworks, I talked about the frameworks. You have the data acquisition framework and publishing framework. We have the data quality frameworks. Now, data quality framework is to give assurance to the business saying, your data came in, we know your critical data elements are 99% accurate. We want to give you assurance that whatever rules that you have put in are the rules that are working for us. And obviously, we have the machine learning and the visualization framework as well. And finally, what I wanted to leave you all with was looking ahead. These are the things that we are looking ahead for. We're looking ahead for information service engineering. And when we talk about information service engineering, it goes beyond data engineering. It's more about how we can disseminate information within a long-term operation? How can we observe that within a long-term operations and make sense of it? We want to create linked data hubs for everyone. And finally, we're doing event-driven process mining. And what does that mean is we must have designed a process to fulfill a business need. And when you start observing the process generating events, you might see different things. You're supposed to do step A, step B, step C. Now, somewhere on the way, there was a patch happened, step C.1 has come in, and now this is a behavior. So how can we do process mining so that we can do it conforms to your original intent or your intent has changed? So that's where we are going in the future months ahead. And all that's going to happen on a Snowflake and AWS instance. What we have done so far is we are able to ship this Mazda book on business in a rapid 7 months. And it was fantastic. We did all on cloud, nothing on-prem. It took a lot of people to work through. There was a lot of problems. We had to pivot and adjust. We had to re-experiment in certain areas, but we were able to do it. One of the reasons we were able to do it is because of the flexibility that AWS and Snowflake allow. The cost of a mistake is little. You go and experiment, and if that doesn't work, you can redo it. You can go faster and faster and faster. With that, that's all I had. I wanted to open up for questions. Thank you all for attending, and hopefully you all found this valuable. You all can reach out to me. That's the means to reach out to me. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Go ahead. So we have a lot of them. So Snowflake is one of the data platforms that we have. So we have Kubernetes. We have Informatica. We are primarily becoming a PySpark shop. We also have Java. So you name it, all of it is there. If you look from a data perspective, we're mostly on Snowflake. There's a Mongo. There's a Redis. If you look at the orchestration part of it, we are heavily going into Kubernetes and PySpark. That's where we are trying to be. But mostly we are going into an automated and metadata. So we have our secret sauce is this model-driven engine where you just make some inserts and we'll build the whole thing automatically. So the speed to market is really good. So if you look at it, we are almost at a stage where we're taking the legacy data pipeline and converting it into months. Did I answer your question? Yes. Go ahead. Okay, I forgot that I'm supposed to repeat the question. How does the data acquisition work if the provider is not on Snowflake? Snowflake for us is only a data platform. Acquisition could be an SFTP drop. An acquisition could be an API call. An acquisition could be a push to a Kafka queue. That's how we are acquiring data. We also have APIs created that other people can call and push data into our system. Snowflake, MongoDB, or what have you is mostly for persisting to data so that we can start doing something about it. Did that answer? No, go ahead. It's micro batching and real time as well. So it's we want to go fully Kappa architecture. We will probably be there here pretty soon, but we have a event-driven processing pipeline. We also have a batch and micro batching processing pipeline today. So we are using Kafka. We have event streams that is coming in from a Kafka pipeline as streams. And Kinesis is in the cloud. There's nothing on-prem. All of those Kafka streams are not on-prem. Yeah. It's not in the cloud. So, yeah. So that's a trick, right? So some of it's COBOL books. I don't know if you remember. Yeah. So you use Power Center. You connect to. And the other problem is those systems are very old. Those column names don't have definition. Talk about data governance here. You do not know if it's a principal amount or if it is, what do you do about it? So there's a lot of research going on. But we are not going to run on-prem. We're going to run on cloud. 100% to the cloud. So we did it rapidly with Mazda set of books. With TFS and LFS, we're doing it right now. We will be there next year. Yeah, yeah. 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 So the key there, just to add on to that, the key there was the way we organize the data. So if you have a runoff strategy, if you do have any kind of a strategy, how do we organize this data if we have all these hybrid approaches? It's how do you data vault is an example of it, and then you can do also anchor modeling. But that is the key. Cool. So I know you have a question. I'll come to you. Go ahead. So we have Informatica Axion right now. And then we are making use of it. So what we are also doing, we're doing instrumentation. So what's happening is, as a business event come in, we are also adding lineages and tags to it. We want to ensure that we're not just dependent on one thing, but it's all system driven. It's how we internally organize it. It's our way of doing stuff. And in the marketplace, if you go, there's open lineage. You can use that. There's open traceability, you can use that, but we have our own mechanisms to do that.
Okay, and one last thing is everything on Snowflake, is there any governance around cost, or how do you manage that?
We do. I mean, obviously we look at it, we are not constant, but what we do is, how do we use it, how do we scale out? So some payloads we'll have to, it's all programmatic. So I do not know if you know, if when AdTech and MarTech came in, unless you do programmatic, you can't scale out. So from a part of your coding itself, you're saying is, I have a big payload, I got to know, and Snowflake allows you to do this clusters, okay, I'm going to expand. And then at other places, I need to contract, so it's all programmatic from that perspective. Cool, go ahead. So the question was, is the data is only for analytics, or are there any operational aspects also? We do also have APIs running on Snowflake. And in particular cases, we are not, for an OLTP perspective, we are not doing, we can't do hit, but certain cases we do have it. Go ahead. So what I did not talk about, deep dive on information exchange. Information exchange is a means to doing that. Is we want to externalize it, but we want to externalize it within our own information exchange system. We might leverage Snowflake to it, and that means that any party can come in and say, hey, I want to get access to the dealer and this business process. That information exchange will determine that. We're working through it. It's in different stages of it. It's not fully done. Yeah. The model was the first information exchange was going to be on top of the model. Good. Go ahead. Kafka is one of the data acquisition strategy, one of them. So we have create a sink for it. There are various, we have a Python-based sink. We have also I think there's an Informatica-based sink also in certain cases. But mostly it is a PySpark-based sink that we're doing on push. Go ahead. We are working on it. There is some part of anonymized data at a higher level, but we are going to start getting telemetry on. And telemetry is tricky because how do you calculate at a point in time what happens? How do you model that, right? And then you have those multimodal time variant dimensions in telemetry. But we are doing that as well. We are slowly getting into getting telemetry. Go ahead. Yeah, very good. Any other questions? Go ahead. I could not hear you. Yes, yes. Tokenization and PII, so we had to create the tokenization. So obviously I told something about multi-brand and multi-tenant. So when you have to have a multi-tenant, you have to have a separate different, you have to segregate the data, right? Then earlier on I mentioned about privacy by design. How do you organize this data and tokenize it such that one cannot see another? There's also other business rule. One set of business cannot see other set of business data. How do we do that? All that is taken care of as part of the pipeline itself. And we have proper tenant segregations all across, not only on AWS, also on the Snowflake ecosystem. Any other question? Did I answer your question? All right, thank you all for the gift of your time. Really enjoyed it. If you have any question, please come and reach out to me.